Hello, welcome to the first episode of AVID for College. I'm Lillian Brooks, AVID Coordinator for Tyler ISD, and joining me today are four site coordinators, the first being Mr. Paul Arrington from John Tyler High School, AVID 4 elective teacher, Mrs. Lamesa Harden-Jenkins from Stewart Middle School, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade elective teacher, Ms. Candace Veatch, Hubbard Middle School Site Coordinator, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade elective teacher, and Ms. Shelly Taylor from Robert E. Lee High School Coordinator and AVID 4 elective teacher. Welcome, you all.
Thank you.
Let's first talk about what the AVID College Readiness System really is. AVID's mission is to close the achievement gap by preparing all students for college readiness and success in a global society. So what does that say to all of you? What do we want people to know about AVID?
Well, I think it's important to know that AVID is something that is going to benefit all students in some regard. So whether they're actually in the AVID classroom or if they're just in on a campus that is promoting school-wide AVID, all students are going to get the benefits of the strategies and just the mindset of you are capable of going to college if that is your desire and dream. So it benefits all kids.
Okay.
And another point I would like to make is that AVID is excellent at providing equity and access to all students. So regardless of their background, regardless of their circumstances, the message of AVID is about empowering students to believe that whatever they want to do with their lives in terms of collegiate pursuits is possible for them.
AVID also changes a culture of a school, wouldn't you agree?
Yes, it does.
Yes, absolutely.
So the mindset of administrators and teachers, you just got through talking about students, changing their mindsets to where they believe that they can do anything that they set their minds to, but it's also about teachers and campus administration as well.
Yeah.
I know at John Tyler we use the phrase the good news of AVID, and we really work with our teachers to show it's not just a class that kids take, it's a way of doing teaching, a way of teaching your kids. And so really it's best practices for the teachers. And it's a way at getting the kids more involved in the content, getting them to have that productive conversation with each other, and really just pushing them a little further than they might be able to do with normal strategies.
And speaking of that, it also changes the way students learn. It opens them up to the idea that it's okay to collaborate on many different levels and that you can get so much more done together than you can separately.
Absolutely.
And the whole idea of AVID is I think we all have heard this a lot at different conferences we've gone to, but really applying it to our classrooms that we are the AVID family. And so when they walk in, we take ownership of our students.
Absolutely.
We want them to feel accepted and loved and cared about. And I love the family environment that we create. It's their home. And even if they're not in our AVID class, that culture and that environment of our campuses should be inviting to our students and wanting them and welcoming them every day of they come to our campuses. So,
Okay, let's talk about the AVID student profile. What do we look for when we are recruiting AVID students? You know, we just got through talking about the school-wide piece, school-wide AVID, and the AVID elective, but then when we are actually recruiting for that elective class where we first start those strategies, that's the foundation of AVID, yes?
Right.
Okay, so what are we looking for? We're looking for that underrepresented student in college, right?
Right.
Okay, what else are we looking for?
We're looking for those students in the middle, those students who, with just a little bit more support and encouragement, they could be in the upper echelon of the class.
absolutely.
Just know that they can try new things and have the support of our teachers and our tutors that come in to work with them.
And oftentimes the kids that we get are the ones that are still looking for their voice. And they're going to find that voice through that AVID family, through the collaborative activities that we do. And it helps give them, as we push the idea of the future, it helps them be a lot more active and confident in the present.
Right. These are students who we know are capable and
Absolutely.
able
Yes.
of performing at higher levels with support. Okay. All right, our application process, we know that it's not your typical elective class to where it's open.
Right.
You know, I wish it was, but it's not, okay? But we do have an application process, and so we welcome anyone who's interested, any student who's interested, to please see your psych coordinator at your campuses, talk to your counselors about becoming an AVID student. Student expectations, parental support. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
What do we expect of our AVID students?
Well, we expect them to understand that they need to be going to their classes. They need to be on time. They need to, we use the acronym SLANT, so they need to sit up straight. They need to listen to their teachers. They need to ask questions. They need to nod their head, showing that they're listening, they're learning, they're understanding. And then they need to talk to their teachers. That's huge, and that's what we try to encourage our students to do is, hey, if you're having an issue, if you're having a conflict or any type of problem, that you need to address that in a kind, positive manner with your teacher. And more than likely, they're going to listen to you because they can't read your mind. You have to go to them. And so that's a part of the expectation of an AVID student.
Good deal. Well, we're going to take a very quick break, but please come back, join us. We're going to continue this conversation about student expectations. Welcome back to AVID for College. I'm Lillian Brooks. We were talking about student expectations before we went to break, and so we want to continue on with that conversation. Lamesa, I think you had something that you wanted to add.
Yes, Lillian, I did. I would like to add that students are also expected to maintain an organized binder. They're expected to take Cornell notes in their core classes. They're expected to be accountable not only to their teacher and their peers, but also to themselves by setting goals and reaching those goals through efficient time management and just being an all-around good student, doing things that are going to put them in a position to be recognized not only academically but socially on their campus.
Well, and the first thing that we hear from a lot of our students that come back is they realize I had to carry this big binder around for 4 or however many years, and now I still have a binder. I have all my classes together, all my papers together. They do that naturally themselves. So they may not like it at the beginning, but they realize it's a great asset if you keep it up.
And that's one of those things, you know, I remember when I was in high school and college, organization was not a huge plus for me. You know, I was trying to find things. I didn't know how to take notes. I was never taught how to take notes. And so the structure of the AVID elective really lends itself for every student, no matter whether you're in the AVID elective or we're talking about the school-wide piece of AVID, to really be successful, to focus on what AVID calls student success skills, just overall.
Yes.
And adults that I've talked to that they're curious what is AVID. Maybe it's a parent or just a colleague. They're always interested, and once you give them the information, they're always shocked and surprised. Man, I wish we had that when we were in school. And what a great advantage that an opportunity that our students have to have this kind of class for them.
Well, let's talk a little bit. Let's kind of switch gears here. Our favorite part of each year in May, when we do the 11 essentials, where the certification for each campus rolls around. You know, all year long, we are really trying to make sure that we are implementing with fidelity to the best of our abilities, not only in terms of the AVID elective class, but also the school-wide implementation piece. The first essential that we want to look at is student selection. That's the most important. We have to make sure that we have the right kids in AVID, that they fit the student profile. Number 2, teacher participation. We want our teachers to volunteer to be a part of AVID, not just that you're told to be a part or you have to, or whatever the case may be. But we want you to want to help kids every day, all day, going above and beyond. Number 3, essential 3, the year-long elective. Most electives, I think you all would agree, are semester. The AVID is a year-long course, and so if a student wants to take band, choir, orchestra in 6th grade, we have to really take a look at that, explain to them what that case may be, and then allow them to maybe enter their next year if possible, because there's that social aspect. We want them to be a part of music. We want them to be a part of the fine arts and other things as well. Number 4, essential 4, rigorous coursework. For us in TISD, that means that every AVID student must take at least one pre-AP or AP course. Most of our students, I think we'd all agree, take more, well over that load.
Yes.
And we support that. AVID supports that with Essential 8. We'll get to that. Essential 5, instructional strategies that promote organization and self-management. We just visited about that a moment ago. 6, a strong writing and reading curriculum. Every student should be reading and writing every single day, regardless of the content area. If they're in PE, if they're in art or music, they are reading and writing every day. Essential 7, inquiry and collaboration to promote critical thinking. Essential 8, tutors as mentors and facilitators. Essential 9, AVID program implementation and student progress monitoring through AVID Center. AVID is data driven. I think we can definitely say we do
Yes.
data so many times of the year. We're keeping track of our kiddos. We know where they are in the process. We know what areas our sites need to work on. And then essential 10, resources. We have the district resources and campus resources to make it all happen. And last but not least, essential 11, active interdisciplinary site team.
Yes.
And we're going to really focus on essentials 4, 5, 6, and 7, WIC-OR. That is the core and the foundation of AVID. We're going to take a very quick pause. We want you to come back. We're going to talk about these 11 essentials in more detail, most especially the WIC-OR essentials. Welcome back to AVID for College. I'm Lillian Brooks, AVID Coordinator, and we're going to go back to where we left off before. We were talking about the WIC-OR essentials 4, 5, 6, and 7. Let's take it letter by letter. WIC-OR is the foundation of everything that an AVID elective teacher does. Really, it's the foundation of what every teacher in any classroom should be doing, but AVID is so intentional that it really sets forth some strategies that are just best practices across the board. So let's take the W, writing. Let's talk about that. What are some embedded strategies that you typically do in your AVID elective class?
Well, one struggle that we see is a lot of our kids, they hear they're doing writing today and they're just not excited about it. And so in our freshman class, one of the things we do is we give them, each student has a number. And that number has a sentence stem. And so person 1, they write for 2-3 minutes, just answering or finishing out that statement and creating a story. Then it goes to person 2. And by the end of it, they have this crazy story that just makes you laugh. And then at the end you can say, look, writing can be fun and we can do it together.
Not a punishment, right?
No, not at all.
All right.
And another component that Lamesa mentioned earlier were our Cornell notes, or as we call them, C notes.
Yes.
And every single class should be writing C notes of some sort, whether it's just over like a PowerPoint, or they could take a piece of or handout of any kind and they can turn it into C notes. And how they do that is they just take the note part, they ask or they write questions that correlate with the information. They use repetition of circling keywords, underlining the main ideas, so they're really revisiting that information. And then finally, they're summarizing what they have done with that particular unit or lesson. And it's just helping them have a built-in study guide, so they can refer back to it throughout the year. And so when they have those big tests that come up, or just really to learn the information, it's there for their use.
On our campus, we utilize the quick writes strategy, and it's really instrumental in getting the kids to think off the cuff. And I really like it because you can use a lot of variety. You can use a piece of art, you can use a musical verse, you could use a question stem of any type, and it just gets the kids to writing, and you give them so much time, and they have to, like I said, right off the top of their heads. And then for those who are willing, we allow them to share out, and it's really interesting some of the things that come from our students, and they really shock you sometimes with the creativity that comes from them just from being able to write right then.
Absolutely.
And I think with older kids and those that are in pre-AP and AP, those students that are preparing for the AP test, that's one of the things, the time factor comes into place, and certain subjects, you know, they're going to be random passages and poems and different things, and I think that helps get them prepared
Absolutely.
to, you know, learn about that and be ready when it comes time, when it really counts.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
How many of you use learning logs?
All the time.
Yes.
What about your teachers at your campuses that are not AVID elective teachers, core teachers? Do they use learning logs as well?
It's a growing thing.
That's a growing thing, yeah.
Well, it's a great way to reflect. It's
Absolutely.
a quick, ticket out the door type of piece that will help teachers and students kind of, oh yeah, that's what we did today. So that's great.
All right, why don't we move on to the I? Costas levels of thinking, Oh, the fun part. Inquiry. Oh my gosh. You know, for some of our students, it's very difficult for them to really focus on the levels of thinking and questioning. Let's kind of talk about that. What does that look like in the AVID elective classroom? Inquiry.
Well, first, it has to be something that's modeled by the teacher. And it helps to give the kids graphic organizers or question stems from those levels. And in my class, we focus on levels 2 and 3 because I want them to get away from the basic level questions. I want them to think outside of the box.
And that's not to say that a student doesn't need to know the level 1
Right.
question. They have to have the foundation built for them.
Absolutely.
But then where do you go from there
Absolutely.
in their thinking? Anyone else want to add anything?
With all of the students being in some kind of an honors class, AP or pre-AP, they need to be thinking at that level 2 or 3 because those are the kind of things they see day in and day out in those classes. And so if we can get them, if we can model it and get them comfortable with that in the AVID elective class where they have the tutorials and the college coaches to help them process it, then they're that much more confident when they get to the class where they're actually using it.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, we're going to take a very quick commercial break. We want you to come back. We still need to talk about collaboration and reading, and it's going to be some good stuff. So please join us. Welcome back to AVID for College. I'm Lillian Brooks with 4 wonderful coordinators from both of our high schools and 2 of our wonderful middle schools. We were just talking about WICOR. We made it through the W, the I. So let's continue this conversation and talk about collaboration, the C of WICOR. What does that look like?
In AVID, the kids learn really quick that you can't do this by yourself. Because we're in groups, 2 days a week, you're working with 6 or 7 other kids in your tutorial group. And so you have to be able to function well within a group and adjust to those groups, to the different strengths of that group. And so that's what you need in college, and that's what we emphasize in everyday AVID.
And I like to emphasize, excuse me, a lot of times in the AVID classroom and in life, you're going to, like you said, work with people all the time. And so it's a mindset of, I'm going to rely on you, I'm going to rely on you, and we're going to get through this together.
Right.
Yes.
Whether it's for a group project that's really fun and exciting, or whether it is for a study group that can still be exciting. Maybe not as much to a student, but it is important.
Yeah.
And just, again,
Comparing notes.
yeah, comparing notes, pair sharing, doing like a huddle type thing where you quickly go through and ask them questions, and they're oh yeah, let's talk about this. It's wonderful to collaborate because we do that in our jobs, and pretty much every job you're going to have that collaboration element.
And when we talk about WICOR in general, we want teachers to know that this is not anything on top of what you're already doing. Like we stated, AVID is simply best practices. It's just taking it a step further and being even more intentional in your teaching every day. So when we talk about collaboration, you're already doing that. When we talk about inquiry, you're doing that. When we talk about writing, of course they're writing and reading and organizing throughout their day, but AVID just provides some additional strategies, some more tools to put in your tool belt and the students' tool belt to make all of our jobs a whole lot easier. All right, so let's talk about organization. That big, huge, we talked about that a little bit earlier. That big, huge binder looks a little different for elementary, but that 2.5 or 3-inch binder, some of our students do need the 3-inch binder because they just have so much stuff. I wasn't taught how to be organized. I've had to learn that. What does that entail for our AVID students? They don't like it at first. They're not a fan of it.
There's an intentional aspect to it. We almost push them to it kind of with that feeling of you'll catch on, you'll appreciate it. And but what we do is we show them, hey, you get all your stuff together, you come prepared, it makes tutorials go better, it's going to help your grade because we do binder checks, and you're going to be able to go to your other class, and when you ask a teacher for help, you can open up and say, this right here, I need help with this. You have everything right there with you.
I love modeling the idea of, here's my planner, so I show them all the time. I have a lot of things going on in my life, so here's my planner, here's what I want to show you, and keep myself accountable, and I want to show them accountability too. So they write in their agendas consistently. They write what they're doing after school, and it's keeping them along the lines of time management, putting those first things first, what's really important that you have to accomplish.
And those skills transfer over into life.
Absolutely.
And
Right.
for not just them, but for all of us.
Well, I don't know about you, but my calendar on my phone is my life. And so,
Your life, yep.
so now, bring your own device.
Ditto.
The kids, instead of that paper calendar, some of us are still utilizing that. But if not, they have their own devices to keep a calendar.
You can integrate technology into the classroom
Yes.
that way.
There you go. There
So
you go.
wonderful.
Okay, let's move on to the R, reading to learn activities. Anybody want to touch on that one a little bit?
Well, we utilize the AVID Weekly, and with the AVID Weekly, we teach annotation of text, we teach summarization, we teach analysis of characters, and we just teach all types of things, but it's really a great tool to use to deepen comprehension and to deepen the student's understanding of how even a text flows and the message behind the text. So it's an excellent tool to use. And avid.org is so nice to
Awesome.
provide that for us.
It's true.
Good deal.
Well, and doing those close reading strategies not only helps the students get a better understanding, but it becomes more relevant.
Absolutely.
Because then they go through and they start trying to figure out, what do these words mean? They put it in their own words. They talk with the members of their group, and that relevance really helps them connect with the story or the article or information more.
Well, and I think as an ELA teacher, that's a big thing, reading and annotating for us. I mean, that's all we do, a lot. And I think that the templates and the things that they provide that go along with that, that promote the writing aspect, to tie that together, I think that's important, and especially for our kids that are older. That's an important thing, because they're going to have to do that in college. They need to learn how to, annotate and look for the main ideas and look at the writer's argument and different aspects.
Perspectives, right. Very good. Well, it's time for us to take a quick pause, but we want you to join us. Come back. Don't leave us. We're going to talk about Cornell note-taking and tutorology. You don't want to miss it. Welcome back to AVID for College. I'm Lillian Brooks. We're going to move on into a conversation about Cornell note-taking. The students affectionately call them C notes. It's fun. We'll take it. It's not always something that comes easily to teachers, let alone the students. How do you think, or what are your thoughts on Cornell notes and how they really foster or bolster higher level thinking?
Well, anybody can take notes. It's easy for people to just look at a board, listen in class, and jot something down. I could look at your paper, I could write that down. But where the critical thinking part element comes in is that, like I said earlier, they have to not only take the notes, but now we have to use what's called the 10-24-7 method. So we have to revisit our notes through repetition. So going back, and I have my students use 3 colors: a pen, a pencil, and a highlighter. They can decorate it, color them all they want to. But the main part of it is that they're going back and showing me evidence that they have actually gone through and spent some time with them. After they've done that with their actual note part, they go along and write higher level questions. Sometimes it might be those level 1 questions that we talked about, but essentially we want them to think, what would my teacher ask me? What would I see on a test? And then after they've written those questions, it should go, like I said, go across, correlate with the information, and it's a built-in study guide. So they can fold over half of their notes and they can test themselves. And then finally, the key part to me, and what I've heard from other teachers, is the summary element. If you cannot summarize in a couple of sentences what you've learned, then I don't know if you really learned it that well. Maybe you need to go back and revisit it. So I really push that a lot with not only my students, but I encourage our teachers on campus to do the same thing. And it has changed students' lives when they actually utilize it in that manner. Their grades have gone from maybe C's and B's to A's and B's, if not all straight A's, which is exciting to see. So
How many? Can you tell us how many pages of Cornell notes you require of your 6th graders and 7th graders and 8th graders?
Yes, 6th grader, we have 5 a week. This year I've tried something different because I don't want them to take notes every day. That's just not good teaching. It's really not. So I have gone to every 2 weeks. Our 7th graders, they're required to turn in 10 C notes, which equals about 2 apiece for each class. And then finally, our 8th graders were required to take 15 C notes, which equals 3 apiece in each class, over a 2-week span. And it's been wonderful. It's worked a lot better, and I think they're actually getting proper use out of them. So I've enjoyed seeing that growth in all of our students.
Good deal. High school coordinators, how many Cornell notes approximately?
We start with about a dozen a week in our freshman classes. Because our teachers really do put more of a focus on, we have to front load some information, so we need to take some notes, and then we bump it up 3 or 4 pages a week per grade level after that.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. And I could talk all day long about Cornell notes. You know, it's one of our most favorite things because we know how important it is to take notes. But I do want to, before we have to end this, I do want to talk for a moment about tutorology. AVID is so cool. It comes up with these most different words and terminology, but tutorology, our AVID tutors, essential number 8. That is a huge piece in what we do every day. We cannot expect our students, who are middle-of-the-road students, ideally, according to the student profile, to be successful in pre-AP and AP classes without supporting them.
Exactly.
Right.
Anybody want to chime in on that right quick?
Part of the tutorial, the power of the tutorial process is the student has to get up there and present something. And so once they do that, they get the affirmation from their college coach and from their group members. That confidence that builds in them goes right back to their class. And so they may not get the answer right then that they need, but they at least are more confident in what they know to go back to class to get help.
Another part quickly is that it provides students that are not presenting to challenge them to ask those questions and guide the student presenter to their understanding. Not telling them, not a sit and get type of environment, but to guide them to their answer. And it is awesome to see that happen.
We call them college coaches with a whole lot of love. We depend on them, and that's another foundational piece of AVID. Well, folks, we're glad that you joined us today for our first session of AVID for College. I would like to thank each coordinator and elective teacher for being here with me today, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.